Steel fans, Calvin Bush bringing you another episode of Lap Around the Rink, presented by Valor Carts. For our second episode this season, we have the associate head coach of the Chicago Steel and new general manager Tyler Haskins is joining us. Tyler, we appreciate the time. Thanks for hanging on the cart with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Let's get right into it first. This is year 3 for you with the team as the associate head coach. What sets the Steel roster, this year's roster, apart from the last 2 that you got to coach in your first 2 seasons, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, every season is different. I think this year is probably the oldest roster we've had, and we're not even that old. But I do think from a returning standpoint, I think we have the most players coming back, and I think that's presents its comforts, but also challenges as well. And I think, it's nice. We definitely feel we have a deeper forward group this year, and I think you've been able to see that. Obviously, just getting players back like Ashton Schultz, Jackson Crowder, and obviously Tobias Oman, and a couple of the players that we have up there. And then obviously you're mixing in players like James Scantlebury and Timo Kazda there, just to mention a few. But I do think having that returning presence is a little different than the last few years with us. And
Sure.
Hopefully we can lean upon that as we move deeper into the season, and hopefully that will fuel how our team plays here coming into this part of the season.
Yeah, kind of going off of that too, you talk about some strong returners. Tobias Oman's one name that has really come around nicely over the last few weeks. And then also you've got a lot of youth. James Scantlebury, of course, the first name that comes to mind for you guys. Miles Bergen's also played some great hockey too. So it feels like the chemistry this year, it took very little to no time to really build that at the early going of the season. Can you kind of touch on kind of what that looked like from, looking from the bench perspective as a coach, how that all came together?
Yeah, I think when you look at guys like, Tobias Oman, it's his 3rd year here, and I think that's kind of what we take pride in here is comes over from Sweden as an undersized player and really had to adjust his game and find out what it would be like to play in a North American sized rink, and just it's a different game over here, and I think he's done a great job, and then, like you say, you pair that with players like Ashton Schultz and Miles Bergen, and then obviously throwing in some really talented young players like James and Timo on the up front, and then you look back in the back end and being able to acquire Jonas Kemps and players like that. So I think at first it's just like every year where when you have new players and you have to find how players come together and how teams mesh. I do think it takes some time. Yeah. Obviously now bringing in Scott and Mike, new coaching staff and the new system that we do play. I do think we have to understand that that's going to take some time, and now I do think we have to start to show some consistency with how we are playing, and that's one thing that I think we've lacked here a little bit as of late is that consistent, not effort, but I think how we're our habits and how we're operating during the game, and I think that's something that the coaching staff is really looking forward to seeing an improvement on here as we move forward in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Over the next couple of weeks, one of the matchups that you'll have is against the USA NTDP on the road in Plymouth, which always offers some fireworks, I feel like, from a hockey side. And I want to go back to your first year behind the bench in the 23-24 season in January 19th and January 20th, 2 big wins for you guys. And that was part of a monumental, truly, spark for you guys that season. You went 17-9 and 1-2, I think, was the record that you went. And that really catapulted you guys into a playoff berth after a really tough start to that season. Can you go back in time and kind of walk me through those 2 1-goal wins against the NTDP and what that stretch looked like for you and grew to a playoff berth?
Yeah, I think anytime you play the program, I think they're highly skilled, both teams. It doesn't matter who you play. Obviously, they're the best, some of the best players at their age group in the United States, and so anytime you go play there or they come here, you understand that it's going to be a highly skilled affair. And I think obviously the way we play, we have some of our own highly skilled players, and so it's always a really fun game to watch. You end up trading a lot of chances, which sometimes the coaches, we're too fond of, but I think it's always a great matchup to have. And when you take us back to that weekend, I do have fond memories of that. Like you said, it really did catapult that season for us into really turning things around and just creating a good environment there with some wins and really realizing that we did have what it takes and to have our players kind of rally around that weekend really gave us a lot of momentum for the rest of the year and ended up driving us, getting us into that playoff look at the end. But like I said, it's always a really exciting matchup. You get to see, obviously they're young, but they're a dangerous team, both teams, and you can't take them lightly, and nor should we here.
Valor Karts brings the energy every mile of the way. Experience bold performance, modern style, and street legal freedom, all 100% electric. With luxury seating and up to 80 miles per charge, Valor Karts are built to take you wherever life goes. Valor Karts, proud partner of the Chicago Steel. You were named GM earlier this month. Congratulations, by the way. A big move for the Steel.
Yep.
When you look back at who you were as a hockey staff, roughly 8 to 10 years ago in Germany, does that version of you anticipate becoming the general manager of a program like the Chicago Steel?
Yeah. First off, thank you. I mean, it's a tremendous honor. It really is. I mean, obviously, you look back and of the history of this organization and Ryan Hardy and then obviously Mike Garman as a GM and I take it as a responsibility to further this organization and continue to challenge ourselves to get better. Going back and 8 to 10 years ago, would I have looked back and said this is what I've been doing? Probably not. I do think I always when I retired, I got into scouting right away, and I found it a very valuable experience for myself, just to learn the game at a different viewpoint and see players from a different lens. And it's no different now, obviously being a part of the staff, as coaching staff as well. I think it is a nice balance. It's nice to have a pulse in the team and know what's going on there. And then obviously having Bobby Geppert, our assistant GM, who does a tremendous job. He's on the road every week and he's scouting players. He's talking to agents. He does a great job with all the future players with our team. And you see the two players that were up with us last week, and Joe Erickson and Jaden Kurtz, and you see the impact they had with us. And it's a credit to Bobby. I think he does an excellent job with his scouting and just his overall contacts. And so he makes the job a lot easier. And like I said earlier, I think it's a responsibility that I take. I don't take lightly with trying to challenge ourselves and how can we continue to find new ways to get better here in Chicago. And really, this organization has been at the pinnacle of junior hockey for a while. And we have to find new ways to keep ourselves there and to push new levels. Yeah.
Going again to your time in Germany, had a few successful years with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in the AHL, NHL draft pick as well, and then you play a number of years, 10 years over in Germany with Grizzly Wolfsburg in the German Hockey League. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like, going from hockey in the United States and then having to kind of adapt to that different lifestyle in a completely different landscape of hockey and lifestyle as it is too?
Yeah, it was a great experience. Obviously, the dream kind of ended earlier than I would have liked to. Sure. It all ends for us at some point.
Right. Yep.
But going over to Europe, it was just an amazing opportunity to continue to play hockey and live in a different country and in a different culture. And something that I'm very grateful for. Obviously, both my kids were born over there. And just to experience something different, it's added to our life and our experiences, and something that I'm just really, really glad that happened. And just from a hockey standpoint, obviously it's a different kind of game over there, I think, is the first thing I think of. And learning new hockey, learning new tactics and systems and just a different way people look at the game, I think is very interesting. I found it really intriguing. And then, like I said, the culture part, food, travel, just a different, you can be on an hour and a half flight and be in Spain, So, and my wife and I and our family, like I said, it was a tremendous experience. Just both my kids were fluent in German, we had to establish a no German rule at the dinner table because my wife and I didn't really have any idea what the kids were saying about us. So, but we it was just an overall great experience and something that I'll cherish for a while.
Sure. Yeah. You touched on it a little bit already. So, you got Chipotle and obviously the American food stops here, which you ask any hockey player what their favorite food is, guaranteed all of them are going to say chippers. So, for you being in Germany and being used to the American food, in Germany, what is their version of Chipotle, I guess? And two, learning the language as a form of communication, I'm sure that's something that you had to work on as well.
Yeah, you know what? There not a fast. I mean, they have your McDonald's and your Burger King and that sort of thing. But I think my favorite places to eat there was great Italian food there, obviously being close to Italy. But I do think the traditional German food, some people weren't huge fans of it, but I do think, you go to a Brauhaus and you try the local food. And I think that's what I loved about the German culture. They were so proud of the old culture. And I think it was sitting down at a meal and spending time with people and really enjoying that company, I think was just something that we still try to establish in our family as a staple where, it's not such a rush. Our lives are busy, but it's something that we really we tried to bring back to the U.S. and just spending that time slowing down. And that conversation is something that we really enjoy.
Yeah, slow down, enjoy the ride. I like that. Yeah, we touched on it a little bit too already, but kind of going from player to coach, and I feel like that's an interesting process for any player in the game where you kind of make that difficult decision maybe to say, all right, time to hang it up kind of thing. But for you kind of had the beauty of playing in Germany with the same team for 10 years. You're a captain for 5 years, and then you go straight into scouting, and then, along the way you become an assistant coach over there too. So what was that process of, saying, all right, it's time to move on to the next chapter, but being able to do it with an organization that you were so fond of?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to end not on my terms with injuries. But I am, I'm forever grateful for the organization. I spent my whole career over there for 8 years of playing, and then once got the news I couldn't have played anymore, then they offered to give me a job for scouting, and like I said, it was, looking back, during the moment I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and then it was a blessing in disguise for 2 years to scout and to kind of remove myself from the game and really look at hockey for what just to study it and not be in the pressure cooker of having to have results, and it really allowed me to just see what I liked in the game and see what I didn't like. I was able to form my own opinions on different things and meet different people, and I thought it was just a great 2 years, and then that kind of transitioned me into coaching, and they gave me the opportunity to coach, and offered me to try it, and as soon as it happened, I absolutely fell in love with it. And just being able to help people at a passion of mine, it's a perfect mix, and it's really allowed me to, like I said, you're able to live in Germany, and we're able to come back to the U.S. and be closer to family, but there really isn't anything better than being able to help people accomplish their dreams and get better. And sometimes, I tell people it almost, I enjoyed, and obviously you enjoy success as an individual playing, but a lot of the time it actually, I get even more enjoyment out of helping somebody else achieve their success, and that's really the epitome of why I coach. When you think of people like Michael Hage getting drafted and those sort of milestones of having players have success that you help get there, there's a sense of accomplishment and joy that it is better than playing. So I think that transition from playing to coaching, I'm thankful that I had people that allowed me to kind of take my time with that decision and transition, and it's allowed me to be where I am today. Yeah.
You're here today as the associate head coach of the Chicago Steel and general manager, and talk about having the two kids born in Germany. You bring them back here, and I feel like as a staff, we see them at the rink in their gear and playing hockey. And, you know, for you as a coach, obviously that's cool to be a part of your kids' journey through sports, right? You know, teaching them new things about the game. And but as a dad, just being able to have them here with, you know, Mike and Scott, and also just with the players too, kind of how cool is that to be able to have like the best of both worlds where you're doing what you love as a coach, but, you know, for your kids, kind of coaching them through the game that, you know, that you love too.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing to be able to share that with my family. Obviously, the coaching lifestyle, it's not an easy one, but we love what we do.
Right.
And it's amazing to be able to have, you know, my son plays hockey, my daughter's in gymnastics, but they're both around the rink, you know, pretty much every day. You know, we probably eat dinner at the rink about 3 times a week. So
Rookie's right here.
Yeah. But no, it is, you know, we're so fortunate to be able to spend that time with our kids, because I think that's what we love to do, and that's what we're, you know, it's to be able to have them here, see their dad in this environment, and kind of see a different side of things, and actually have the players see that side of, you know, I'm just not an angry coach all the time also, but
Sure.
But no, it's something I'm really thankful to be able to have them experience, and hopefully they'll be able to remember this for a while.
Yeah. Tyler, we really appreciate the time. It was great to have you on for Lap Around the Rink. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.